Hey guys, I think you know what time it is. Let's do it. Hey guys, so here it is, the Season 5 Breaking Bad review. What I can tell you is Season 5 is the best season out of everything because who doesn't think the last season of a TV series is the best season? It's got everything. Everything unfolds in the end. Everything you've ever wanted to know about every character, what's going to happen to this character, all of the development that a character could ever get happens in Season 5. So basically, the general gist of Season 5 basically kicks off where we left off Season 4. Walter is saying that he won, and he drives off, and kind of don't know where the show's going to go from there. So we start to see that he's doing well for himself, and basically he teams up with house fumigators to produce meth in these tented houses. And despite the new business model, Hank and the DEA are able to identify 9 of the inmates. And one of the lawyers who has the ties to Mike, which is Gus's, was his right hand man before Gus died. And Walt sees that this is a problem for him because any of these 9 guys can get a really good deal and roll over on him. So what does he do? He does the impossible. Well, for Heisenberg, the impossible doesn't exist. So he orders that the 9 people be killed in prison, which is obviously very difficult because they're in prison. He's very specific about it. He's like, you got to do it in this time. And the way it plays out, it's beautiful. Hats off to the editor because I know she got nominated for an Emmy for, best editing on this episode. Gliding Over It All, it's called. It's the mid-season finale. It's beautiful. I mean, perfect ending to a mid-season finale. The way it's executed is it's brilliantly done. Nice little montage, heavy references to The Godfather in this episode. This episode is very heavy on The Godfather references. And Heisenberg is such a brilliant character by Season 5 that he fits. He fits the image of like Don Corleone. By the mid-season finale, we're just like, wow, what happens now? Because we see that Hank has finally learned that Heisenberg is Walter. Hank, from there on, when the last 8 episodes come back, Hank basically is very distraught because he can't believe that Walter is Heisenberg this whole time. My brother-in-law, how has he been lying to me this whole time? He's got to gather all of his evidence because he's got to see that I got to know if this is real, if this is really happening, because I don't want to take the leap in order to try and prosecute my brother-in-law if it's not right. So he has everyone bring him files from the office, and he goes over them, and he sees that it's perfectly logical for Walt to be Heisenberg. And Walt actually comes over and talks to Hank because Walt finds a GPS tracking device under his car. And he comes to Hank and says, you wouldn't know anything about this, would you? And, Hank, at that point, closes the garage door, and from there on, it sets in, whoa, he's really not having it. And he beats Walt up, and basically Walt tells him, if you don't know who I am, you should tread lightly. That's really something that sticks with us because we're like, oh man, Walt doesn't even care that he's just been discovered. He's like, okay, but I doubt you're going to do anything about it. And we really see his confidence in that as the episodes go on in Season 5, because we see that Hank goes to Skyler and asks Skyler to prosecute. Skyler refuses. Hank tries to get Marie in on this so that way Marie can work her magical sister powers and try and persuade Skyler to get in on this. So what Skyler does is basically talks with Walt about it, and they concur that there's one way to do it, and they make this tape, which is basically this video confession, which is a fake video, but it's beautiful because you can totally buy it if you didn't know the whole story. And it links everything to Hank and Marie as being the drug lords. And it's basically blackmail. It's like, hey, if you go to them and with this story that I'm Heisenberg, I'll give them this DVD and I'll be safe. And from there on, we're like, oh damn, he can't be prosecuted by Hank. And that's the awesome part of it. And Jesse seems to be destroyed mentally because throughout the final 8 episodes, he's very broken. It's like he knows what happened to Mike, and he knows that Walt did it. He's about to get out of the game. He tells Saul, I want you to call that one guy that can give me a new identity, and I'm out of here. When he's about to be picked up, things aren't right. And he basically snaps, goes to Saul, almost kills Saul, and then visits Walt's house with a canister of gasoline and goes to work. From there on, Walt sees Jesse as his enemy, but he doesn't want to, so he tries to make amends with Jesse. But through a horrible mistake on Jesse's behalf of thinking that Walt actually came with men to kill Jesse to that little meeting that they called in the town square. Basically, Jesse was like, all right, well, it's totally on now. Now I'm definitely going to kill you. And Hank is really trying his best to use this to his advantage because he's like, okay, Jesse can be the one to get Walt. And they use that to their advantage. They get him on the phone, and Jesse lies to him the whole time and tells him, oh, we've got your money, and sends him a picture of it. And, every minute you're not here, I burn $10,000. And it really convinces Walt, and it gets him to run to the place where he stashed his money. Before they arrest Walt was talking with the group of skinheads, and he was basically letting them know that, okay, well, he thought the whole DEA was coming in, not Hank, just everybody else but Hank, and if that happened, he needed some protection. But as soon as he saw that only Hank showed up and Gomez, he told them, he was like, don't come. But do they listen? No. They show up anyway. There's a major shootout. And sadly, we lose Steve Gomez, who honestly isn't that well of a developed character, so I could care less. But when we lose Hank, there's that bittersweet moment because I thought he was such a good character. Like, I hated his character, but at the same time, I really liked his character. He was just that kind of guy. He was that kind of guy that you have to hate because he's the antagonist for a little bit, but once he's gone, you really see that he was someone that Walt really cared about. And as soon as he was shot, you can see it in Walt's face. And they kill Hank, and they leave Walt in the desert with $1 million or so in cash, and they take the rest of his money. And they also take Jesse Pinkman, and they agree to kill Jesse Pinkman. That doesn't happen, because Pinkman is recruited as technically their meth slave because they need him. They need him to make Heisenberg's purest meth, so that way they can make money off him for as long as they want to and then kill Pinkman. And Walt goes back to his house, and he sees that it's time to hit the road, and he goes to Skyler and Flynn, and he tells them, and they don't go with it anymore. And Flynn first Skyler snaps, and then Flynn steps in to help Skyler. And Walt basically snaps, and he's like, well, what are you guys doing? This is our family. What are you guys doing? And as soon as Flynn pulls out his cell phone and calls 911 on Walter, that's when we know that they're done. That they're literally done with going along with these stupid games that Walt has, and that's it. They're sick of it. So what does Walt do? He gets the hell out of Dodge, and he takes Holly, his daughter, with him. Leaves Skyler in the street, really distraught, crying for her baby. But I'm Team Walt all the way, so I was totally with what he was doing. He was trying to prove a point. And he definitely proved it, but by the end of the episode, he gives Holly back. At that point, it's time to disappear, and he does. And then Walt goes to New Hampshire, and he stays in a cabin for an extended amount of time. We're not sure how long, but it's enough to freaking grow a full beard and a full head of hair, so I'm guessing it's a couple months. From there on, he sees that, I will die soon. I need to finish what I started. And so he goes to this diner. He basically picks up his package, which consists of a machine gun and some other stuff in a bag. And he visits his old house and gets the Ryzen. From there on, we're just left questioning, what's Walt going to do? I mean, yeah, he's going to get revenge, but exactly on who? Just the skinheads or everyone in general? The opening of the series finale, captivating, because we see he visits Gretchen and Elliot, and he basically tells them, you're going to, when Flynn turns 18, give my family this money, which is $2 million in cash. And if you don't, these assassins I've hired that are watching you until that day will begin a sort of countdown process. And again, if he doesn't get the money, they'll kill you. And from there on, he goes to solve his next problem, the meth. I mean, no one will distribute Heisenberg's meth. And he wants to get his money back. So it's basically a 2-for-1 deal. He visits Todd and his associate. He tells him, listen, he makes up this bullshit story about needing more methylamine. And basically makes them a quote-unquote offer. And this gets him a meeting with Todd's uncle. And as soon as he goes up there, he plays it casual, like he's really there for it, and he gets his uncle to bring Jesse out of whatever hole he's in. As soon as he brings him out, Walt tackles Jesse, and we think that's the occasional, fight that was just waiting to happen. No, it's not. Walt tackles Jesse, makes sure he's covered, and presses a button on the little remote that he has for his car. And the trunk opens, and as soon as the trunk opens, the machine gun he has it mounted on some sort of plate with the trigger, able to be constantly, just pressed down. So that way it's automatic firing and it sprays back and forth, and he kills everybody in the room. Todd's uncle is fatally wounded, lying on the floor bleeding out, and Todd is fine. He's laying out. And we're still getting over the fact that he was able to even pull this off. Before we can even let that digest, Jesse jumps over and he kills Todd. And as soon as he does that, he picks up a gun and points it at Walt. And at this point, I screamed at the top of my lungs because I swear to God, I thought he was going to pull the trigger and kill Walt. But he doesn't. He basically tells him, he's like, I will only do this if you say you want this. And Walt tells him, I want this. But he sees Walt is shot. So Jesse tosses the gun and says, then you do it yourself. And gets in the car, drives off. He's free now. Free man. He can do what he wants. And as Walt's walking out of, the little shack of death, as I like to call it, he gives the distributor a call. And first of all, she's shocked to see that Walt answers Todd's uncle's phone. And she notices that this is Walt, so she's very shocked. And then he asks if she's under the weather, and she replies, yeah. And then he lets her know that, that's because I slipped the raisin into your coffee. And you're just like mind blown. You're like, wow, the last character that needed to die, done. Walt goes back to the amazing little factory they got down there, their little meth lab, and he lays on the floor and basically he's ready to accept everything. His conscience is clear. He's done everything that he's needed to do, and now he can die in peace. And this is an ending that really hits us hard. Us really big Breaking Bad fans just can't even begin to describe the emotion I went through when I saw that last shot. Bittersweet ending to an amazing TV drama. Thanks so much to Vince Gilligan and his 6 writers for creating this masterpiece of a show. Aaron Paul, you definitely made your mark. This is your role, and for Bryan Cranston, this is the role of your life, my friend. So there will never be anyone like Walter White, aka Heisenberg, again in TV history. So definitely, if by the end of these 2 reviews you're not convinced that Breaking Bad is a show that you need to watch, I don't know what else I can do for you. But for all the fans of Breaking Bad, this is me officially stating goodbye, Breaking Bad. And hopefully we have another show like this in the next 10 or so years. Here's to hoping. This season gets a rating of 10 out of 10 from me. Thanks for watching the review, guys. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope to review more TV series as the time goes on.